How are y'all doing? I'm going to record this too for you. I assume that's what you wanted. So, all right. So, ironically, lately I've been talking to a couple of churches. I was talking to Dr. Jackson about all that. I've been talking to several different churches, and I've been starting each church session that I talk to the same way. And what I say is, I really do not like when financial people get in front of a church, and then what they do is start quoting scripture like that's what they normally do. I am who I normally am, and I really believe that if you just tell the truth and you deal in facts, that it comes across. So I'm going to be who I normally am, and I'm going to talk about how I normally talk. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not just saying it because you're here. Every week I sit and listen in there, and what you preach about life and about success and about business and about being a better person. And I tell you a couple of times after your sermon that you could teach in our classes because that's what I'm trying to get across. A lot of times in our classes they say your class had nothing to do with finance this week. It really had to do with just being a better person or understanding your family better or understand because I just think there are core things that if we're better at, everything else becomes easier. For example, if we're good at our health and we practice good health and do good things health wise, other things become easy. If we're good with our religion, other things become easier. If we practice good finance, everything comes easier. If we practice being good as a family member and as a friend, everything else becomes easier. Things are going to come up. Both you and I over this last week had some car issues here and there. It's just not as important, you know. In the moment, in the moment, seems like it's so much, but really not that important in the grand scheme of things. I'll give you a quick story. When there's one time this lady in a parking lot had the story was either she got the gas stuck or she was angry with her boyfriend. It really didn't matter to me. But she backed into about every car that was in the parking lot. Now, I happened to be shopping with my wife at the time, and then we came back out, and one of my cars was one of the ones that were hit. She had hit the car beside us, pushed it so hard it pushed into our car, broke the back window. Now, the reason I tell you this story is because I come walking out, and I'm smiling, laughing. I see what happened to the car. Everybody else is, I mean, people are crying, just broken up. I mean, no one was hit, no one's hurt. It was just cars. And I'm smiling, laughing, joking around. And one of the ladies, she's like, "You shouldn't laugh about that. This is my car. I can laugh if I want." And then one of the business owners there said, "I want to give you a hug because you're just so happy." And I said, "Listen, my son wasn't in the car, my wife wasn't in the car. We got insurance for a reason. About time they paid me back." so so it really isn't the end of the world. So if you're talking about the right things, doing the right things, I really do think everything else becomes insignificant and not as important. Um, because I know I'll go for a while trying to keep myself on notes. And the other thing is I don't talk in big theories. Okay, I'm the one I'm one that's like, here's something you can deal with. Here's something you can use. You could go out, use it right away, understand it, and move forward. So I don't do a lot of, by the way, if you just spend less, everything's going to be great. We all know that, but what can I do differently? Oh, if you invest your money, everything's going to be great. Or if you start a business, everything's going to be great. I go in more detail on those things. Okay. Now, our mission at our academy or school is to teach families how to make and save money for freedom and retirement through education and action. And I'll be honest with you, we went through several different mission statements to finally just land on this over the last 2 or 3 years. But I'll say it again, to teach families how to make and save money for freedom and retirement through education and action. And I'm on y'all's time. You can tell me to stop, go back, ask questions. This is y'all's time. I enjoyed them. This reminds me of Tuesday night. So let me break down. It's to teach families. See, there's a lot of financial institutions out there. I won't name them by name, but Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley. I mean, they're all out there. They got commercials on TV. They're good guys in three-piece suits. They're driving BMWs, Mercedes. And they know all the information in the world, and they don't really, to be honest with you, don't. But I worked in for a company that they, like most companies, they were about selling product. They weren't about teaching anything. They were about selling product. And myself, I got excited the more stuff I learned, and I wanted to teach more people this stuff. So I spent about 2 years trying to teach and sell product, because you gotta do what you want, but you got a business you work for, and that's another thing you work for. And I wanted to work for myself. But I wanted to teach families. So I left there after 2.5 years, one of the hardest decisions. The second hardest day of my life. The first was when my son was in the hospital on New Year's Eve when he was like 3 years old. And it was just heartbreaking. He made it through. He's a knucklehead today. I love him. He's my best friend. But the second part, because I was in the parking lot of that institution in tears, because I was wondering if I was doing the right thing. I was leaving something I was very successful at to go through something I felt was right in my heart, and leave a name behind to be able to go teach these classes in my living room. I mean, it'll be 5 years in April. We were teaching these exact same classes in my living room to like this number of students. 5 years later, you see we have 5 years later, this number of students, and I'll be honest, half of them were my family. So that's another reason when I see churches that have the spirit more than the entertainment value, because I understood that's what I had. We knew we were doing the right thing. It is the best thing in the world, and we're going to keep on do the right thing, even though half the time we were scared that we weren't doing the right. That maybe there's a reason other places do certain things because that's the only way to be successful in the financial field. Well, we were right, and I can only see us getting bigger. So to have what we have today, to have the 3 classes, to have everything online, to see so many credible people just come towards us and ask for more information. I've got gentlemen that have been in this industry for 15, 20 years coming to me going, you've taught me so much. I've learned so much. I mean, people I look up to are coming back to me saying, thank you for what you've done. You've changed my family's life. And to me, that's more important than any money you could ever give me. But I wanted to teach first. There's people that come to our school who want to learn to make this a very successful business. I say, I want you to make a whole lot of money. I want you to make all the money you want in the world. But I want you here to help people first, make money second. And if you're here to make money first, help people second, I do not want you out of school. And to be honest with you, I've kicked people out of our school for that. I had a gentleman who sat in that office who told me I should let him go to a school because he will make me money. And I said, that statement right there says, I don't want you at my school. 5 minutes later, he was leaving out the door saying a few choice words. He revealed himself pretty quickly. See, our school is built to reveal good people pretty quickly. So it's about teaching. That's like I said, you're going to learn some stuff you can utilize and move forward with. How to make and save money. Now, the biggest reason I put that, because of all the things I say teach families how to make and save money for freedom and retirement through education. And you know what most people hear? How to make and save money. That's it. The other stuff they don't get how to make and save money. Because fortunately or unfortunately, our society, we live in the free enterprise system, and it is about money. And I love when I come across a really deep church religious person, and they go, you know what? It's not about money for me. I mean, I don't. It's not about money. I don't care if I ever make money. Oh, I ask them, what would you do if you win the lottery? Oh, I'd give it all away. I just give it all away. I'm like, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to come here, learn a whole lot of stuff, make a whole lot of money, and I want you to give it all away. Because if you don't want it, somebody does. Somebody can utilize. Because there's not been one church, hospital, youth organization built without $1. And they'll go, well, they turn around and say, well, I wouldn't give all the money away. They reveal themselves again. But I wanted people to make and save money. Because I sit down with, again, I'll go back when I was 2 years in the financial field of sitting down with a single mom who I'd go run their numbers and how much they need to put away to be able to retire. And it was thousands of dollars every month to be able to retire. And they look at me like, I'm having trouble making my mortgage payment. Are you kidding me? I can't put. And I feel bad. I'm like, all they would have to do is learn to do what I do. And they could make that. It takes some time. It's a learning, but they could make that. And then they could take that money and be able to put it in to their own family. See, the career that I've chosen is a 6-figure career. I mean, I don't shy away from that. It is a 6-figure career. It's 3 of the top 10 paying careers are in finance. But sometimes it's about making an extra $200 into a household paying down their debt, putting some money towards their college, a kid's college fund, putting money towards retirement, doing just $200 would change most people's lives. So that's again going back to there's people that are in the big offices downtown that they've gotten so big for their britches. They're talking about how much money they make when they don't realize that just a little bit of money will change some people's lives. For freedom and retirement, I believe we live in the best country in the world, and I've heard you say that a couple of times. uh, I tell people, I'll be honest, in our classes, I tell people, listen, we can disagree with a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, we live in a country where we can disagree. We can disagree religiously. We can disagree about political parties. We can disagree whether my kid is the best or your kid is the best, and they're wrong. Mine is, but they we can disagree on a whole lot of things, but we cannot disagree that this is the best country in the world because our country if you agree that another country is better, our country allows you to go to that country and live. You do not have to be here. You can go somewhere else and live. So we have to agree that, and what's the biggest thing that we do have freedom. We have freedom. Unfortunately, we box ourselves in to not allow for freedom, but we do have freedom. And so I want to help people to make a statement for more freedom. See, retirement is the one of the goals along the way, but I want them to have more freedom, to be able to do more things daily. And then lastly, through education and action. And this is one I harp on a lot with. Have you ever heard the saying, knowledge is power? It's the furthest thing from the truth. It's applied knowledge is power. Knowing it and sitting on your butt on the couch means nothing. Once you have it and you apply it, that's when it matters. I told you could teach in our classes. It's having that education and moving forward with it. There's a lot of people that know a lot of things that don't do anything with it. And our job is to move forward, not to sit. There's only two switches. It's either forward and growth or backwards. There is no I'm kind of just hanging out. That means backwards. So I want people to have the education and move forward with it. I think there's a lot of great things out there. This education is out there. It is. In our orientation and I tell people all the time, we live in the age where I can pull out my smartphone and find out who won the Oscar back in 1972 before I was born. I can pull that up and say, okay, here's a person who won it. We're more interested in updating our Facebook status and seeing what. Okay, everybody, what's Beyonce and Jay-Z's baby? What's the baby's name? Blue. See, Blue. Everybody knows that because that's out there. We live in the information age where we have this information is out there. I tell people, don't believe me. We've known each other for a while now, but most people I'm just meeting, I say, don't believe me. Look this stuff up. We live in the information age. The stuff is out there. Now, once you have it, move forward with it. All right. Have you read any of these books before? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Start Late, Finish Rich, Think and Grow Rich, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. All this information is out there. And I tell people, here's the other thing. If you're creating a business or doing anything to be successful, you don't have to do anything new. It's already laid out for you. Just copy somebody who's successful. And it's funny. People who are successful, they want to give their secrets. The problem is most people don't want to listen to them. Whenever I have a person who's trying to build a business, I say, I'm telling them that the financial field is a great business being, but let's say they're doing something. I got a buddy who's in IT. He built his own IT business, but he's small. Compared to most, he's small. And I sit down, have lunch with him, and said, you got to find somebody who's done exactly what you want to do. Take them out to lunch and say, to give me the good, the bad, the ugly. Tell me what I got to do. And trust me, we want to tell you, especially if you pay for lunch. We want to give that information to you. So the problem is most people don't want to listen to it. So again, this information is out there. They don't want to listen. We had this conversation in the last couple of weeks. It was a huge wake-up call for myself to learn that not everybody wants to be successful. If I ask, and the way I explain it to my students, if I ask 100 people, do you want to be successful? What are 99 going to say? Yes. One's going to be a smart aleck. or just, so negative they just never, but 9 are going to say, I want to be successful, right? Now, if I ask how many are you willing to do the work to be successful, that number dwindles. It's probably in the 40 to 50%. Now, when I actually show them what to do to be successful, it drops down to the 10 to 5%. And that was a wake up call for me. I was the type of I wanted to save everybody. I'm going to do it is we can do this. Let me do it. And it is so simple. In my class, I have them do homework. You know what their homework is? Their homework is all they have to do is once a week get online, find their name in a drop down box that's alphabetical. As a current student, they find their name in a drop down box. They put the question of each week is, what have you learned? What did you learn this week? Type in the information of what they learned that week, hit send. That's it. That's all they have to do. And I'll have people come to me, oh, I had a busy week. Oh, it's so tough. I've worked 40 minutes this week. This life is so tough. And I go, you updated your Facebook status 4 times and you couldn't do this once? To me, it allowed me to separate the people who were, I have 70 current students at any time going through our classes. About 30 of the 70 actually do their homework every week. And I go, do you understand how easy it is to be successful? Sometimes it's just showing up. The number one thing I tell them is just show up. That's all you have to do. And most of them won't do it. So I want to. There's a guy I listen. By the way, I listen to a lot of books. I don't read a lot. I listen to a whole lot of books though, because I can listen to something 5, 6, 10 times before I read it one time. But there's a guy I listened to. He said you can beat 90% of the people just by showing up. Most of them won't. There is 90% of people. If I put $1,000 sitting here in cash and said everyone who shows up get $1,000 in cash, 90% of most of them would talk themselves out of it to begin with. This saying, oh, there's got too good to be true, can't happen. Yeah, most people then they'll say, oh my, from the other side, they live in the West End. I've got to drive from the West End all the way to Chesterfield. My classes are online, downloadable, and live, and I still have people say they're too busy. They'll say Tuesday night, that's my backgammon night or whatever they come up with. It's my darts night. And I'll go, well, that's fine. What? And I love this because I say, well, so what day would you pick? If you had it on Thursday at about 3 a.m., I would be there. And I'll go, that's great. It's online. You'll be able to download it Thursday 3 a.m. And then I trap them. The people who are willing and the people who want and who people are willing. All right, so one of the core things and you see I cleaned this off because I knew I was going to use it today. One of the core things that we teach in our classes is the cash flow quadrant. It comes from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book changed my life. I was a computer technician. I liked my job, but I hated my job. It's like everybody. We got our job. We first get it. We love it. It's amazing. It's the best job in the world, and eventually it becomes a horrible job. It's the same job. I say that thing with relationships too. When people go, she's crazy, and he's just a horrible guy, and I'm like, she was crazy and he was a horrible guy when it started. You just ignored it until the end. And by the way, talking about life stuff, hate is not the opposite of love. Because I see girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives go from love to hate. That is not the opposite. Indifference is the opposite of love. So they have to channel their love into some sort of emotion, and that becomes hate. Oh, he's horrible. I'm like, he wasn't too horrible. Got 3 kids by him. He had to do something right, at least 3 times. So I'm like, it has to go from indifference when you just don't. It doesn't matter what that person anymore, because until then they take up your heart, your mind, and everything else, and you're focused on the wrong stuff. Anyway, I told you we teach life lessons here. There's 4 ways to earn income, either legally or illegally. There's still 4 ways. It's employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. An employee has a job. Anybody ever had a job before? You work really, really hard. The person next to you doesn't work as hard. They get paid about the same or more. The difference is they just figured out they're going to get paid the same no matter what, so why should they try as hard? They figured that out. See, if you leave that job, does the job shut itself down, or does somebody else go into your place? Or do they keep somebody who's there and make them work double and pay them the same? Next is self-employed. If I want, one of the things I want y'all to understand, self-employed and business owner are two different things. If you are self-employed and you take yourself out of the business dies. Person who owns a lawn care place, so they're a painter, they're hairstylist, a lawyer, a doctor. My brother's an orthodontist. He is self-employed. If he does not show up, there is no other orthodontist that's going to do his job. I love making fun of him on that, by the way. He's my younger brother, so it's easy to do those things. He got out of school. He said, my first year, I'm going to make a six-figure income. I said, well, you owe over six figures, or you owe six figures in your student loans. So you're going to make a negative income. Man, I like dealing logic versus emotion. But the difference, if you take the owner out of this business, the business dies. You take the owner out of this business, the business continues to go. Even if you have employees over here, let's say if the boss doesn't show up for a couple of weeks, do the employees work as hard? I know I did. I pretended to be on the internet when the boss wasn't around. Let me update my Facebook. Or that work, still paying me. Yeah. But that's the difference in these two. If you take the owner out of this business, the business works better without you. The mistake self-employed people say is, if it's got to be done, I've got to do it. No one can do it better than me. I've heard a quote. One of my students gave me a quote this week. He said, if you're, it doesn't, I'm going to misrepresent the quote, but basically he said that if self-employed people think that if it's got to be done, it's got to be done by me, and that that's not the truth. What you do is find more people that can do it even better than you, and it gets done further. See, the school may have been my idea, but I have some absolutely. You've met Allie, met Kristen last week. There's Melora, Eddie, Steve. These guys and gals are better than me in so many different ways. I just get to be the face of the organization because I got there first. That's it. They're so much smarter than me. They're better than me in every way. And we have absolutely. That one became 12. 12 became, and people don't understand that. They think they have to do it all themselves. Sooner or later, you will get tired. I go back to my buddy who owns the IT firm. I said, you will get tired. You may love it now. You will get tired. You will get sick. It will happen. What will happen then? You have to help somebody else to get to where you're at, and they will reward you. So if I take the owner out of this business, it continues to go and is actually the example I give, the person who owns the Burger King across the street will never be there. Because if he's there, if he or she is there, does the place run better? No, as a matter of fact, they probably get in the way. The system runs without them. So it should run better without you. If you think it only runs best with you, you're in some trouble. Again, this place runs better without me. I don't tell them that out loud, but it's true. Okay. I mean, it still hurts my ego when I'm not teaching. And one of the students go, Allie is just I love when she teaches. I'm like, I teach too, she learned a lot from me. No, okay. I'll go back into my office. But it's like watching your kids grow up. I love sitting in my office, seeing all three classrooms going, and all I'm doing is sitting in the office just kind of hanging out. It's like watching your kids grow, So that's the business side, and then investor. Any of you've had an IRA, 401k, annuity, anything, that's an investment. The best example of that, a dollar bill's only job is to find another dollar bill. So if you put a dollar bill in your pocket, it will find another bill, whether it's at the cash register at Walmart or in your 401k, it will find another bill. Dollar bill never gets sick, never calls in sick, never gets drunk the night before. All it does, its job is to find another dollar bill. That's it. Now, if you had the choice, would you rather be on this side or this side? This side? The right side? You know why? It's the right side. Think about this, okay? Where are most people at? Which side are most people on? This side. Now we'll go back to We live in the freest country in the world. If more people are over here, but they want to be over here, and we live in the freest country in the world, why aren't more people on this side? Say it again. It's work. It really breaks down to that work breaks down into three things. They think it takes a lot of time, a lot of money, or a lot of knowledge. By the way, here's another secret. Anytime anybody's ever asked you for a favor, it's been one of these three things. Never asked you for anything else but those three things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They want time, money, or knowledge. Then this is my personal, but they want knowledge from you. Mm. Well, I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know. I'd rather have the four people in this room than 100 people that have that. There's the want and the willing to do. I had a gentleman sit right over there. We were talking about the school and everything, and he said, he's like, if I find out this knowledge, then I'll have to actually apply it, and that scares me. I'd rather just not know. He just rather. I said, well, have a great day. Not in the school today. Are you kidding? You have a family, and you're not willing to learn this knowledge because you might have to apply it. You want to stay ignorant. It is so easy. It is so easy to sort people out. It's so easy for me to sort people out on the ones that want and the ones that don't are willing to do. So mhm. Education and apply it. Yeah. The gentleman on the other side of this wall, he actually took our old space when we moved to this space. He's a mortgage broker on the other side of the wall. He goes to our classes, and he said it sounds a lot like church when you're teaching class. And I said, well, I'm just being truthful and factual. He said that's what it is. He said all truth is God's truth, so that's why it feels that way. See, if you've been around people where they're lying or they're sneaky or they're salesmen or they those you don't feel right. I'm just there. I'll say things in class, and I'll see people just kind of their eyes just. I'm like, ooh, hit a nerve. But there's only three things people ask for, and there's only three things that hold them up from this side: time, money, and knowledge. Well, I found out that once you have the knowledge, it does not take a lot of time. It does not take a lot of money. When I left the corporate world of finance, well, not the corporate world, but I left what's called a captive company. You only work for that company. When I left a captive company, become independent and become a teacher, it was very scary. I told you, it's one second worst feeling of my life. But I almost lost my house in that transition because the money went away as I tried to build up. 5 years later, money's not an issue. I almost lost my house, the house I grew up in. Now today's money's not an issue. House is ahead. It did not. Once I had the knowledge, it did not take a lot of time or a lot of money. They don't. Unfortunately, I mean, it's, like I said, this is 5 years later. Unfortunately, they don't teach this stuff in school. If they had a college program based on this, we wouldn't have as many people getting out of college and not being able to find a job. That's okay. I'll get on my political soapbox for a minute. It does irritate me when I hear, oh, I can't find a job, or what is the president or the Senate or what is politician going to do to find a job? And I'm like, make your own job. Why are you waiting for someone else? I mean, it just oh, unemployment is like 7-8% right now. Oh, that's a horrible stat, right? Unemployment is 7-8%. I'm like, that means there are 92% of people employed. Why are we focused on the? And I'm sorry, not everyone needs a job. I'm sorry. If exactly. So they make you go. You make you get out your bed and drive somewhere else. I mean, I'm sorry, 7%, 8% is not that bad of a number. So, but I teach people how to be on this side, the business owner and investor side, because this is the residual income side. You do something once, it comes to you for the rest of the. To me, these two concepts are the most important things: the cash flow quadrant and residual income. Correct. When I stopped thinking about money, money came to me. It was the only thing my wife and I ever argued about was about money. I would be doing about the 15th and the 1st. She knew not to hang around me. I wasn't as happy. She'd come up and go, hey, hey. The first couple of years, she'd say, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, same thing that's always wrong. Same speech I ever always get. Same thing that's always wrong. Money. I remember being in the kitchen one night, and she's like, I wish you didn't have to work 2 and 3 jobs, because that's what my job. We have a family. I have a house. I have a son. My job is to take care of the bills. That's my job. So I've got to work 2 and 3 jobs. I got to work 2 and 3 jobs to pay the bills. And she said, I wish you didn't have to work 2 and 3 jobs. I said, I wish I didn't either, but someone's got to pay the bills. I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing this because I couldn't figure out money. I remember having a $15,000 a year job and another $15,000 a year job. And I said, man, if I ever make $30,000 a year, everything will be great. Well, I got that job at $30,000, and then I got another job that's $30,000 because I didn't understand money. So I was just spinning my wheels because I was taught what my parents taught, and I was further along because they learned some things. They passed some information on me, but they were taught what their parents were taught. Yeah, there's this information. This stuff I go over, people, okay, they talk about, and I'll use a politician because they're in the news a lot lately about how much they make and all this other stuff. You know, they talk to their kids differently than middle income. My son knows this stuff. You know, he was 5 when I got into this field. He knows, he's 12 now. He knows this stuff. He picks it up. And if I have him do the cash flow, he's sick right now, so he'd be, he knows it because I'm plugging into him. I'll be honest, he comes to me like, I don't want to go to college, because I can go work with you and do better than getting the student loans. And anyway, another story. He's 12 years old. He understands this stuff. Talks a little differently than most. Understands this stuff. Sits in the back sometimes classes. Sits over there, you know. And by the way, kids pick up this stuff really, really. They might be playing a video game, but they pick up the story. And this is why this meant so much to me. My dad, I was 8 years old, and I'm watching football. My dad comes by, and he says, hey, those guys make a lot of money, don't they? I'm like, yeah, they do. He's like, someone pays them, and they don't get hit every Sunday. And I didn't understand. He walked away because he'd do that. I asked him later, what do you mean by that? He said, those guys make millions of dollars. However, there's a billionaire who pays them, and they don't have to get hit. You know, they know what they're doing with their money. And when the millionaire goes away, they just replace it with another millionaire and continue to go. When Joe Montana left, they replaced him, you know, with Steve Young. When Steve Young left, you know, there's always, but the billionaire doesn't have to get hit all the time. That's all he was trying to do. That's why this made so much sense to me. That's why residual income made sense. I'm like, oh, that's what he was talking about. And I'll be honest, he understood that, but he didn't know how to do it himself. He just knew this was the right information. Y'all have kids? Everybody have kids? Okay. No? Okay. The ones? Okay. All right. Should never told me that. I used against you the rest of the time I know you. See, because I use kids against people all the time. Because we'll tell our kids one thing and we do something completely different. And what we would really love to do with our kids is kind of take our experiences and put them into our children. But we can't. You can't. You'd love to say, here's why you should date this person and not this person. Here's why you shouldn't study in this class so hard and this one's more important. But you really can't. All you can really do is put up guardrails and kind of let them bounce off the guardrails and hope they don't go over the guard. That's all you really can do. See, I have a conversation with my son all the time, and I say there's a difference between messing up and effing up. He knows that there's messing, and that's bumping the guardrails and going over the guardrails. And we give examples. He's like, okay. I said, if you mess up, we talk about it. You make mistakes, it's fine. We learn from and move forward. You F up, talk to your mother first so she'll protect you when I find you. Okay? So he understands there's a difference. because I understand he's about to be a teenager. He's going to start testing those things. But you realize we've never grown up from being teenagers. We really haven't. You know the hardest thing in the world is trying to make somebody do something? It, and when they're 19, 18, 19 and older, and they have full ability to do what they want, it's even worse. You think having a kid is hard. Trying to make a 40-year-old do what I'm trying to get them to do. So this is the residual income side. Every time I build a business, it pays me residually for the rest of my life. Every time I set up an IRA, 401k, annuity, any of those things, it pays me residually the rest of my life. I do something once, it pays me the rest of my life. And my kids, I have one son, I got 70 kids. I watch them grow up, and I'm putting into them. They ask me why I spend so much time, money, and effort on them in the beginning, because they grow up. And when they grow up, they look back and say, Dad's an all right dad. You know, don't talk bad about me at all. Kristen will hurt you. Allie will hurt, because they realize that's dad they're talking to, the person who believed in them when they started, who spent that time. I mean, there's a student one time who was saying something bad. Kristen was, I mean, you met Kristen. She's a little tiny. She was ready to hurt somebody. Don't you talk. I'll come over there. So, to me, these are the core concepts that we teach at the school. Here's some of the retirement problems. The personal savings rate has fallen from 10% in the 80s to a negative 1%. The last time we had a negative savings rate was the Great Depression. And if you're not saving anything, when do you retire? 41% of workers have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. 77% of workers have less than $100,000 saved for retirement. It's not on here, but 29% have nothing saved for retirement. 95% of Americans are uneasy about their financial situation at retirement. What I love about that stat, even though it's gloomy, what I love about it is that people need this information. When I was building this school, I'm like 5% of people don't need this information, and 95% of people do. That is a huge market of people that need education when it comes to financial. 31% of workers determine how much they need for retirement by guessing. Anybody ever had 401k before? Did you know what you're doing when you got it? Did you know legally the company cannot give you advice with your 401k? Legally. Because if they do, they'll be sued. They're not licensed to do it. They can't give you. Did you do this? Because this is what I do when I first come. I'm like, Dad, will you help me out? Or, hey, you look smart. What are you putting? All right. Imagine trying to guess how to go from here to California. But that's what we do with our own financial future. 66% of workers think they'll still be working by age 65 or older. You've been to Walmart, right? How is the person putting a sticker on the kid's hand? Are they doing it because to me, this is a misnomer. And by the way, I always say this too. If I offend, I'm not talking to you. Okay? But it's a misnomer. People say they retired and they wanted to go back to work just because they want to get busy. That's a lie. Social Security is about $1,000 a month. Imagine going from what you're making to $1,000. They needed the money. They needed the benefits. They didn't prepare. That's why they're working. Because if I want to keep busy at 65, I'm going to spend time with my grandkids. I'm going to spend time playing basketball if I still can. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to do something besides work at Walmart. They're not doing it to keep busy. Smart Money Magazine. Y'all get this? Smart Money Magazine says that at age 65, 54% of people will be broke, depending on the government or their family. 41% of people will be working if they have the ability. Also, I love when people tell me I'm going to work for the rest of my life. You don't get that decision. Your company can let you go, and God can say you're disabled. You're not going to be. And then 5% will be retired. How many of these people you think plan to be broke or working? No, they don't plan. People don't. They'll get around to it eventually, possibly if it fits into their schedule on Thursday between 6 and 9. I mean, really, that's what they do. You know what SMART stands for? save marriages and reduce tension. What's the number one reason for divorce? Money. About 70-80% of the time comes down to money. It's not that stuff you see on Jerry Springer. It's because of money issues. So my goal, the jokes are funny the first time you hear them. Later on, like I said, Alia goes, really? I've heard this joke 50 times. Hope, my wife, she's like, come on, get some. She always tells me all the time, get some new material. But about 70-80% of the time comes down to money. So I feel I'm saving marriage. I love in my classes when a couple comes to class. By the way, there's some hard-headed husbands out there. I'm just saying. Hard-headed. Anytime I talk to financially, the ladies get it, the guys don't. Every time I went to a financial seminar a couple of weeks ago because I always say I can learn more. Maybe I can learn something. No, I didn't learn anything. This one, he was horrible. But I'm sitting in there. There were two guys, myself and one other person, a bunch of ladies, about 30, 40 ladies. Ladies want to know this stuff. Guys think we already got it figured out. I think that's one reason we built such a great school. I found a bunch of ladies that were smart and wanted to be successful and put it, they're willing to do. I love when guys first come to our classes. Oh, I'm going to do a great job here. I'm like, these ladies will kick your butt from one end of the school to the other end of the school. And then we talk trash and then we can't show up the next week because we lost, But SMART says save marriages and reduce tension. The enemies of retirement or freedom in general is the number one enemy of retirement or freedom is procrastination. The number two enemy of retirement is procrastination. The number three enemy of retirement is procrastination. No one has ever looked me in my face and told me this is a bad idea. They've told me I'll do it next week, next month, next year when it gets cold outside, warm outside, the kids go to school, when my cars get, they all kinds of reasons. They won't just get started. Just start where you're at and move forward. Also, they have no written plan for the future, high personal debt. They depend on someone else to be responsible for their financial future. That scares me. I hate when a person says, I got a guy who takes care of my stuff. That's like turning your kids over to somebody for 20, 30 years and going, why are they crazy? Well, because you expected somebody else to take care of them. I tell them, there's nobody, as much as I want people to be successful, there's nobody to take better care of your money than you. I can help you along the way. Now it's your turn. Like a first-time parent, mom or dad go there, okay, here's what you do here. And then sooner or later, you got to back away and let them go. And a poor understanding of how money works. These are the core things you need to know when it comes to money. These three things. Three categories, and we'll talk about how money works. First of all is debt. If you're in debt to somebody, there's a reason it's called in debt to somebody. Okay? Doesn't matter how much I say you can make interest and all this other stuff, you're paying 20% to a credit card. If you're paying 1% to anything, you're in a negative direction. Next is life insurance. I'll give you a quick story on this. I used to call it protection. As a matter of fact, if you show on here, my slide says protection. The reason I now call it life insurance. That buddy I was talking about who owns his own IT firm, 28 years old, he lost his wife last Friday. Not 2 days, but last Friday. She's 27 years old. I hit you then. Jason lost his wife of cancer. She's 27 years old, and she passed away of cancer about a week ago. I've been to the funeral, to everything. And I used to call it protection because it was really cute to say protection. No, nobody wants to talk about life insurance, so I'll say protection so that, And I feel horrible because I've known Jason for about 7 years now. So I've known him, actually 5 years. I've known him when I could have given them life insurance. But I'm like, they're young. We'll get around to it. We took care of his debt. We took care of his retirement, everything. I'm like, we'll get around. I remember sitting in a car several times because we have lunch. We drive each other lunch. And I go, man, I should talk to him. You know what? I'll get to it. A year ago, his wife was diagnosed with cancer. She died a year later. And I feel horrible because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. There's only two things guaranteed in this life, and that's death and taxes. So you should have life insurance. There's all kinds of life insurance out there, and there's some of them are horrible, some of them are great. But I'd rather a person have horrible life insurance than no life insurance at all. So I've stopped being cute about this. It's life insurance, and don't wait on it. Okay. And then there's retirement. Tell a person, I'll say, well, Larry, I can't go to your class, sit down with you, anything, because I don't have any money. And I'll tell them this. How long you been working? Oh, man, since I was 17 years old, I've been working. How old are you now? 37. So you've been working for 20 years, huh? Yeah, 20 hard years. You've got nothing saved. Yeah? Then you need to do something different. Because what you're doing ain't working. Because you've been paid a lot of money that you've been given to the cable company, Verizon, Visa, MasterCard. And I go, oh, I said, you need to do is start with education first, and then we'll move to the rest. But you keep procrastinating. All right, have you ever heard of the rule of 72 before? Very important rule when it comes to money. Rule of 72. What you do is you take the interest rate that you're getting in your savings or retirement, interest rate you're getting, you divide it by the number 72. So it's 72 divided by the interest rate, and it tells you how many years it's going to take for your money to double. Years to double. So, for example, if you have a 3% interest rate, that means your money's going to double every 24 years. If you have a 6% interest rate, it's going to double every 12 years. And a 12% interest rate doubles every 6 years. Now, I'll show you why this is important. So, for example, if you have 10,000, you put $10,000 in here, 10,000 in here, and 10,000 in here. 24 years later, you have 40,000 for this one, 160,000 for this one, and 2,560,000 for that one. I'll show you why this is important. Anybody have a savings account? What's the average rate of return on a savings account? Actually, less than 1%. It's like 0.08. Yeah, less than 1. Credit unions are normally around 1.5%. Regular banks about, like I said, less. It's like 0.005, but the average is about 0.008. So we're going to round it up to 1%, right? So 1 into 72 goes how many times? 72. I've had people ask me for calculators, so I'm proud of you. 72 years. Takes 72 years for your money. How many 72 years doubling time do you have in your life? Now, what's the bank do with your money once you give? You give? Correct. They either invested at 12% or higher, normally around 20%, or they loan it out at 6 to 8% to your friends and family. So you make 1%. Let's say they average 12%. Who wins? You been downtown Richmond? What are the bigger buildings with the names on the side? 2 BB&Ts, 2 Wachovias, 2 Wells Fargo now, 2 SunTrust, 2 what are they? Bank of America. And the reason I said there's 2, because they have one bank. We'll put BB&T. They have one bank where you put your money in, and another bank they walk it over to where they invest the money. That's why there's 2. See, people can go straight to this bank, but you got to have like 250,000 before they even talk to you. That's ridiculous. So banks don't sell anything. All they do is take in money and put out money, because they know this information. They build those big buildings with their names on the side. Yes, sir. Yep, they sell to each other and just continue to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. There's companies that they go to start a small bank just because they know they're going to be bought by a bigger bank and they'll just retire off of that. You see why it's a very important. Once you know this, you can use it. I remember when I learned this, I went to my savings account. I said, I need to close out my savings. And the lady, you know what? We have a CD. It's 1.2%. Like, okay. Yeah, I'm like, ma'am. And to be honest with you, the teller don't know. I have BB&T. Their checks, banks are great for checking. Horrible for everything else. I have a BB&T checking account. The lady across the way, I see her all the time. And I asked her if she knew the rule of 17. She says, no. Like, she said, that's why there's this guy who only comes in here to deal with the people who have 250,000. But if it's anybody less than that, I'm supposed to just tell them to put in a savings account or a CD. It's about the information. It's not. This is a misnomer. You have to have money to make money. You have to have information to make money. But yeah, she didn't know any of this information. So I go to close out my bank, the teller there, and she's like, well, how about this? She's trying all kinds of, like, ma'am, I'll be honest with you, I can make 12%. She's like, what? I'm like, can you give me my money now? But they don't know. They're not telling the tellers that stuff. All right, we're going to look at it another way. You've heard of compound interest before, right? Okay. Yes, ma'am. You just put $10,000 and you never touch. You just put it in there. Correct. You don't put any more in. Yes, ma'am. Oh no, this is 24 years later. I'm sorry. Correct. It'll in 6 years you'll have 20,000. So it's 20,000, 40,000, and then 24 years later you'll have correct. Very good. Now I'm going to answer a question that they normally after I do this slide, I'm going to answer a question most people ask me. Okay. So we'll talk about compound interest. Let's say you put away $200 a month. Okay, you don't have 10,000. You just say I'm going to put away $200 a month for 35 years. All right. At 3%, you're going to have $148,000. All right. At 6%, you're going to have $286,000. I want you to take a guess what you'll have at 12%. So at $200 a month for 35 years, you have 148. 6%, you have 286. Take a wild guess what you have at 12%. And I'll tell you, the ladies normally get this right, and us guys get it wrong. So I'm rooting for you. Okay. 3% is 148. 6% is 286. Take a wild guess what you get at 12%. There's only 4 of y'all here, so I'm gonna make y'all guess. And the winner gets candy because I give candy out all the time. Hope hasn't replenished it, so there's some candy that I just don't know what it is. So take a guess. Yep, 3% is 148,000. 6% 286. About 572. Okay. Everybody's got a guess. It's about 572. It's going from here to here to here. What do you say? $1 million? At least $1 million. Okay. What do you say? See, now y'all say, I wish I did have that calculator. $2 million? Okay. You're going to do prices right and say $1. Just give me a guess. $1.5 million. $1.6 million? Okay, I'll let you go to $1.6 million now. Since you went first, everybody. It's actually $1.3 million. See the huge difference between that, and this? See, when I first saw it, I did about what I said, that's double that, double, let me do about 500,000, 600,000. That's why the guys normally get it wrong. Because we're like, okay, I'm tired of this guy knowing all this stuff, and they go back. And then the ladies will do this all the time. I don't know $1 million. Mm-hmm. But do you see the huge difference in that and this? Now, I'll answer a question most people either don't ask me later or think about. They're like, how do you get 12%? You just said the banks give 1%. How do you get 12%? I make it as easy. Have you ever had a 401k? Do you have one now? You have a 401k now? Do you use your 401k? Okay, at least you're honest with me, okay? In your 401k, if you put in $100, do they match like 50%? They match. So you put in $100, they put in $50, right? That is a 50% rate of return, which is a lot higher than 12. And that's before it even goes into the market. And the S&P 500, which is basically the market, has been between 10 to 14% since its inception, since the beginning of time. Now, see, they'll say like in 2008 it lost like 30%, and then 2001 it lost like 10%. So, but they forget that in 1999 it did 40%. If you do average it over time, it's normally between 10 to 14%. And so if you do a 401k, you get 50%, and then you got this here. You heard anybody say they lost a whole bunch of money in 2000? I lost so much money in their 401k in 2000, right? They didn't lose their money; they lost the company's money. Their money was fine. Everything they put into it was fine. I tell people all the time, even if it's the worst 401k in the world, use your 401k if they match, because you're getting a 50% rate of return is more than 12. And then you put it in the market and you do another 12. See, people think emotionally, not logically. And I can't change that, but I can help that. No one's ever made a decision logically. Never one. We make an emotional decision and then we rationalize it. You know why they call it rationalize? Because we rationally lie to ourselves to make it true. Like, I gotta have this car, this one, right? I know the payment's high. I know I'm already in debt. I gotta have this car. It has all four wheels. Come on, you're not gonna get that anywhere else. You see why this information? People who have money know this information. People who don't have the information. It's not the money you make; it's the money you keep. And it's not you have to have money to make money. You have to have knowledge to make money. Make sense? Now I'm going to give you one of my last and most important rules, which is the 4% rule. And this is a wake-up call for a lot of people. I want you to think what you want to make yearly, okay? The money you want to come in residually for the rest of your life yearly. And then you divide that number by 4%, and it'll tell you how much you need to save for retirement. So example, the average income in Virginia is $40,000. So you say, I want to make $40,000 a year for the rest of my life. I want that money to come in. No matter what I do, that money's always going to come in. Okay? Divide that by 4%. That means you have to have $1 million to be able to be completely free. And it's not just retirement free, because this is how it works. If I take 4% off of this million, okay, I'm just taking the interest, not touching the principal at all, just taking the interest. 4% is not that hard to get. I do 4%, I take it off that million. I have my $40,000 for that year, right? This grows up to $1 million again because I've taken off the 4. It grows back to $1 million. I've used this throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, I grab another 40,000 off of it. Goes back up. That's freedom. For the rest of my life, I'm being paid on this money. Doesn't matter what happens, how the economy is, whether I have a job or not. That's what freedom is. See, don't think of it when you're saving. Don't think of it as I can't touch that money or I'm giving it to somebody. Think of it as you're buying your freedom. Because at that moment, the moment you hit that number, whether you're 20 years old or 90 years old, you are free for the rest of your life. That makes sense? So, Any questions on any of this? This is the core things I normally go over because these are the things I want people to be able to grab, take home with them, be sitting down with their family tonight. Let me explain to you the rule of 1912 and start trying to draw it out, and because it gives them something to talk about, something they can use, something you can tell your kids, your family members, something like that. Those are core. Our classes, we have like 40 different classes that goes into detail on different things, but this is the core of all of it. The cash flow quadrant, residual income, and the 4% rule that you can walk away with and know that you know what your number is. You ever seen those ING commercials? Your number, they kind of carrying it around. That's if you've ever looked at the number, it's like 800,000, 900,000, a million, 2 million. That's what they're talking about. Your number. I use it in our open house all the time. It's a great commercial. It says the guy walks over and he's got his number, and the other guy's cutting his hedges. He goes, "What's that you got there?" So, "Oh, it's my number. It's the amount I need to save to be able to retire the way I want." So, "What you got there?" And it shows the guy, he's got gazillion. He's like, that's my number. They're like, "How do you plan for that?" "Well, I blindly throw money at it and hope something good happens." He said, "So you really don't have a plan?" "No, I don't." But honestly, that's where most people, they're gazillionaires. They're throwing money or not throwing anything at it, hoping something good happens. What questions y'all have? Did you learn? Oh, if you had a question, what would it be? I love that line. Because I asked a question. No, we don't have any questions. If I had a question, it would be this. Yes, sir. Okay. Several of our students in our class are already retired. They're really, really retired. They like coming here because they learn some more things. They're able to help people who aren't retired because it is special to be able to get there. It does take 3 things to retire normally, and that's Social Security, a pension, and then your own savings. And you would probably agree that most people don't have pensions anymore. This is going away. Like it or not, it's going away. They send you a letter every year that shows it's going away. It's completely out of money already, and it's going away. So they have to do this. And the reason I point this out is because a lot of people who are retired who are in our classes, they know that this is not available to their friends, their family, your children, grandchildren. So they want them to learn it so that because who are they going to come to when they need money? The one who is retired. Or they're doing this. Not that your family is doing this at all, but they're doing this going, when is he going to die so I can have his money? Because they put themselves in bad situations not knowing this stuff. So anybody who's been around those situations where they go, eat this, drink this. Yeah. But once a person is retired, there are several things. I don't know, I'd have to look directly on your certain situation, but there are things like people have put money into retirement that isn't the best for them. I would like more people, again, to take control of their own stuff. I'd love them to get licensed to do what I do and take care of their own stuff. So not only do they get the interest that they would have, they get paid on top of that. There's a gentleman I was talking to he's like, "Well, I really like my financial guy." I said, "Okay, that I've got a guy. That is awesome. Has he paid you, $3,000 to do your own stuff?" "No." He said, "I like him, but he's never paid me." Like, you get licensed, do it yourself, and get paid to do it. And now you put your money in, you got paid $3,000 just for putting your own money in. They got that around where he's at? No. But he drives a really nice car. Like, it's your money he's driving. So what I would do is look at and say, what's the best scenario for you? What you have, is that the best scenario for you? And if it is, great. If it's not, then you have more options and more information to be able to say, okay, here's something else. A lot of financial guys will say, here's all the good stuff. My product is good. Good. And you find all the bad stuff 6 months, 6 years later. I always say, here's the good and here's the bad. Check, check. You decide what you're willing to put up with to be able to get the stuff you want. I wish relationships were like this too. So in the beginning, you're like, okay, I snore, but I cook a really good meal. Like, all right, I'll deal with the snoring to get the meal. That's how when you're not at a captive company, or like I said, I'm independent and I'm teaching, It's more, I can say, here's all the good, here's all the bad, and you got to decide what's good and bad for you versus he told me this, he only told me the good, and then I found out the bad later. So that's something you'd be able to look and say, okay, here's the good and the bad. Because I have several people who are retired, they come here and they go, wait a minute, I'm in this, which will lead to this bad thing. Well, if I change it to this, I now have this here. I had a lady I met with Friday. Actually, I met with her before, but met with her Friday. She's retired. Her husband passed away, unfortunately. Her husband passed away a year ago, and she's also the grandmother of my Jason's wife. So she's had a pretty rough year. But she had her money in investments that she didn't understand. She didn't understand. I mean, all she knows is she's getting a check every month, and she's happy about that. But we looked at her and like, you're going to run out of money. You're going to completely run out of money. And what you have it in is the reason it's running out of money. She's losing like $5,000 a month. She didn't know that. She just knows she's getting her check every month. So you're losing $5,000 a month. And she's like, oh, why? Why not? So I called the financial institution. I won't say their name, Morgan Stanley. And and I asked them, I said, when's the last time you looked at this account? Oh, it only goes back to 1993, and we haven't made any changes on it since then. Yeah, honestly, financial advisors are glorified salesmen. All they're doing, they're supposed to sell it, put it over here, and then go find somebody else to sell. But I said, why would you put her in this product knowing she's 7? Well, we haven't changed it in so many years. She's got to call us. Did you realize you're supposed to call them to make any changes? They can't make changes on their own. They can't even suggest it. Exactly. Those guys, they can only sell it. They can never make changes on their own. They're not looking at it. They don't. And I tell people, I'm not sitting there looking at you. It's going up and down. You know, I'm watching Hulu. I'm watching my stuff. I can't watch everybody's. I can in the position to be able to get suggestions, but there's no way. I've had 200 some students come through here. It's impossible. Correct. That's why I wanted them to have the information to be able to get their statement and understand it. I don't expect people to be watching the stock ticker go up and down. That's not what I'm. Understand the numbers at the. What I want them to do is they get their statement and go, I understand what this is, instead of. Exactly. I may need that one day, so I'll put it in this file. So that's what I give you more knowledge on what you have, give you the good and bad of everything that's out there, and then you say, I want to do this. Also, you can help other people get to here where you're at and explain to them it doesn't just happen, and be able to get more residual income by doing that. Getting licensed and saying, hey, go see Larry, go see this person. I take care of it and you get paid on it. I think that's just a better way of doing things rather than they come to class on Tuesday. What it does, that's what my classes are broken up into two sections. There's people or investors, that B and I, ESBI. There are business classes and investor classes. Investor classes are people that are just coming there to learn for themselves. That's all they want to do. The business classes, they actually learn that stuff, but they also learn how to get licensed. And it's basically broken down into this 3 sections. So I'll go back to the B and the I. There's some people here, all they do is refer people. They get licensed, they refer people. They're like, listen, I don't want to do paperwork and try and deal with people's money, but I'd love to get paid for it. So they get licensed, they refer people. I take care of all their stuff, whether they're coming to the school to teach or I'm helping them out with their retirement stuff, and I pay them for referring. Pretty good amount of money. Got to get licensed. That's the like I said, I give you the good and the bad. The bad thing with we have to be licensed to do what we do. Correct. You can refer people anytime, but for me to be able to pay a person, I legally cannot pay a person until they're licensed to do it. I would lose my license if I pay someone if they're not licensed to do it. And all that is a test that you've got to get a 70 on. Pass it one time and be able to own it for the rest of your life. And again, going back to the very beginning, people won't go take the test because they procrastinate. There's one thing to say they want to be successful, another thing to actually be successful. They're fearful. They'll drag their feet. You just take a test. and we'll do the rest of the work. Oh, well, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But it's nice to be able to deliver a check to a single mom who's, deliver a $2,700 check to her. Well, she's at home. She was even, all she did was refer somebody to me. I helped them out. She was retiring, showed her how to do, did everything, sent the paperwork in, and then they gave her a $2,700 check. That feels the world to me. It's not about making 100,000. It's about making. I love making this call to because my students, as they're going to classes, they actually make money while they're going to classes. I wish colleges were like that. But they make money as they're going to the classes, and they're sitting, and I call them up, hey, you checked your bank account lately? Like, is it negative again? I keep telling them, like, yeah, check your bank account. I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? Remember this person you referred to? They referred somebody else, and you get paid for that because they referred somebody else that came from your referral. So I think you deserve the money for it. Like, all right, good job. Go give me some more money. Then there's some people who become advisors. These are the ones who want to be really smart. Because there's a lot. There's smart people out there. They love sitting down with people doing. They get licensed the same way, and they sit down with people and become advisors. They own their own office at their house or somewhere else. And I've shown a bunch of people how to do that. They go own their own because it's owning your own stuff. They own it. I'm not their boss. I don't tell them what to do. I can help them out, give them advice, but they're like my kids. They go out and then there's teachers. The Alleys, Kristens, Meloras, Eddie, Steve. They came here, they got licensed, and they learned to teach in classes. And then what they'll do is sit down with each student and help them out with their retirement and stuff, and they get paid for it too. They just learn along the way. I have students that have been here a little while who help reach back and help the new person who come into the class. They'll sit and teach a little bit of class. They'll help on it. They'll be teacher's assistants. They'll sit over there and make sure, because there's people online. They'll answer questions for the people online. Or, it becomes a get over the wall and then help the next person over the wall situation. So that's how a person can be any of those three businesses. Listen, I've found what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Tell jokes in front of this podium. That's basically what I'm going to do. So if I can help other people by doing what I'm going to do anyway, why not turn it back over to them and let them get paid to do it? The only problem is the license. And I give them all the study material and everything to pass the test. They still drag their feet. Okay. Right. Yeah. Most of them related to me. hmm hmm Absolutely. Absolutely. The first part you said about vision, I do believe that Bible verse says that without a vision, the people will perish. Um, it when we this is what I wanted. These classes and everything is what I wanted 5 years ago when I left. As a matter of fact, I wanted them so much. I wrote out. I do a lot of Excel and stuff. Microsoft Excel in it, and I wrote out the exact measurements of the three different classes that I wanted, the office that I wanted, and everything. Actually, it was two classes, two classrooms. It was 1,000 square feet, 750 square feet, and then a 250 office. Right. This is 986 square feet. That's like a 500 or 600 and some. That's a little over 500, and then the office is 250. What's ironic is I wrote that early on, and then it was in my notes, but I hadn't kept going back to it. But I knew what I wanted, and then when we built this, because this was completely open, when we came here, we had to map it out. So I was kind of mapping out how will the tables and chairs fit in there? Okay, but that's what I knew I wanted. And then once we all finished, I looked back and I looked at that sheet, and it was right on it. I think the most important thing in what you just said was commitment. I was going to have this happen no matter what. If it meant losing my house, I was going to lose my house. As long as my son was taken care of. And luckily, I have the best wife in the world who's always been said, listen, I know tomorrow if I lost everything, all of it, and we had to live in our car. She would say, as long as our son's taken care of, that's all I care about. You know, let's make sure he's safe. But she'll be sleeping in the car right next to me. And I was blessed enough to have a wife like that. But I knew I was going to do whatever it took to make this happen. It scared me along the way. There's lots of days I doubted myself. There's still today days I doubt myself. It's less and less as it goes through. But along the way, I picked up people that had the same commitment, drive, and mission. You know, what I did is extremely low compared to the commitment level Allie made. She was in the Army in North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 3 hours away. This is before we had internet and everything else. For her to drive up here every weekend, and you were in the military, you know you're not supposed to be off base. She drove up here every year for 2 years to be able to help out build this dream. When we hit financial, as we were transferring and stuff, and we hit a financial time, Allie's the one who said, here's a little help for to help out this month, for us to be able to do what we need to do. I met Allie 4 months before all this transition happened. She could have stayed at the old company I was at with her brother, who she thinks the world of, who was her mentor growing up, and she made a commitment and walked in faith to say, I believe you, because I helped her out in the beginning. Her brother wouldn't drive down there. I would. She's like, I'm going to make this commitment towards you. Brother's not there anymore. Now she's here doing it. So we made the commitment. And to me, that is when you decide, I'm going to do this, come hell or high water, I'm going to get this done, whatever that is, things do run. I've never been the universe is all beautiful, but I do believe that the universe will line up for you. And will say, when you've decided that this is what you're going to do, no matter what, and whatever happens is going to happen. It doesn't mean, I've heard people say this a lot recently, and I absolutely agree with it, that it's not supposed to be easy. It's just supposed to be possible. It's not, it doesn't mean, again, I'll use a little Bible verse where they said, you're going to have to help me out. He didn't go in, he didn't save them from the lion's den. He still had to go into the lion's den. He just made sure the lions didn't kill him. So you have to go when you say, here, I am willing to do this, I'm doing whatever it takes to get here, everything else lines up. I cannot mathematically show how we went from my living room to here. I can't. When we found this place, April 4th of 2 years ago, the reason I know that, because Allie and I were driving past this. We had already decided we were going to do the Turner Road down here, which wasn't quite the fit we wanted, but we drove past here and happened to see the rental sign. We were on the other side of this wall in a classroom, and I happened to realize there's a rental sign for this. He didn't tell me, but I happened to find that I believe everything does happen for a reason. And we said, we're going to do whatever it takes. And I'll tell you, once we got here and got it settled, I did lose a little passion. I lost a little commitment, because I said, I've reached where I wanted to. It became I reached where I wanted to go, versus the entire goal was to change the world, not to me reach where I wanted to go. I want this to live past me. I want the vision to live past me. So now when that happened, things changed again, and I said, what can I do to make sure if I'm not here tomorrow, it still grows, we're still able to reach more people. We have all the online stuff I want to. So you're absolutely right. It does. Once you said committed, that this, and by the way, the word decide is the same words that are used in pesticide, suicide, and decide. The reason it means there are no other options. If you have pesticide, they're done. Suicide, they're all. Decide is there are no other options. I will do whatever it takes to reach that goal, whatever that goal is. And that doesn't mean that the path doesn't change along the way. It wasn't, I said, hey, I want the classes to be like this. Well, the goal was to get to where we could educate as many people to educate 3 million people about the topics I went over with you. So if that meant we had